screw that goes here is just a regular screw. So now I can take this all out. So this is the brush assembly. And then this, wonder what this is. Wonder if this has to do with, wonder if there's a circuit inside there and that this has to do with regulation. Okay, clean this up, and this has a part number on it of 8303A. So that's clearly a replaceable component. Hey, let's measure some stuff. I can do some checks, some resistance checks on some stuff, and then compare them to maybe some known values I find online. And there's some stuff I could probably figure out well enough. Like I know I should get continuity between these terminals here if my windings are good. Okay, I did get continuity here, but what I want to do is I want to isolate this this diode pack, if that is what it is, I believe. What? If that is what it is, which is what I believe. So, in order to measure the windings and not confuse it with any possible continuity in the diode pack, take these wires off so I can see the way that's installed right now. Oops. And there was this little distribution deal right here. I wonder if that's got some solid state device inside that pack right there. Or if that's just a... Well, let's see. I'll clean that up and see if there's a number on that too. I don't want to mess. Alright. The other thing I was worried about was, you see this thing right here? This looks like it's just where they're tying all of the windings together. So I think the other end of each one of these windings is tied to all in one group right here. But I'm wondering if this metal thing right here wasn't attached to this end. You see on this end there's a piece of metal sticking out? I'm wondering if that was on there and I broke it off when I took this apart the way I did. I'm going to look at it under magnification and see if I can't tell. I don't think it was. I don't see anything on this to indicate freshly broken off metal. Nor do I see anything on here to indicate freshly broken off metal. So it does beg the question on how this is wired though. Again, if I find that schematic, it'll tell me more about this. Good news is I'm getting the same resistance reading from each one of these to this point right here where they all seem to tie together. So that tells me all three windings appear to have the same resistance, about 2.5 ohms. The bad news is I checked one of these and I didn't check the other two yet, but I'm getting some reading between this and the case, which is ground, which I don't think I'm supposed to be getting. That almost seems like I'm getting, it's almost like it's got like a ground fault, which I mean that could be, I guess that could be just all of this gunk and crap that's in here could be causing that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting about 74,000 ohms between, or 74 k ohms between each one of these and the case. Huh. Remember this little guy? Cleaned him up and he's definitely got a part number on him. It's best I could tell is 466528-4A14. It's really kind of hard to see because it's silk screened on there and half of it's like faded away. But that's what I think it says. Getting some kind of weird readings on this. Trying to measure this from this lead, which appeared to be the common lead to these other three. And I'm getting resistance measurements not unlike a capacitor, where I'm getting a very high resistance that's changing, almost as if like a capacitor is being charged up by the meter leads. So I'm wondering if this is some sort of a capacitor pack where there's like 3 capacitors going to this terminal, which is probably ground, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure. Again, schematic might tell me why there might be a capacitor pack in there. Maybe that's to kill noise generated by the alternator. That's just a wild guess. I've got a capacitor meter on this, just for the heck of it. Let's see if I get any readings. Even the capacitance readings are strange. I'm getting nanofarads on 2 of them and like 0.3 microfarads on another. Yeah. This is really kind of a waste of time, but I'm down here. What the hell? Alright. I wonder if I can take a guess that this is the diode pack with any success. And here's something you probably shouldn't do with electronic components like this. Wash them. But I wanted to see, there was so much gunk on here, I wanted to get a better idea of how this worked. So it looks like, from what I can tell here, we've got what are probably 3 diodes in here that are attached to this heatsink. And then if you notice, if you look at it real carefully, you'll see that this top part of the heatsink here and the bottom part of the heatsink are actually isolated from each other by this plastic clip right here. So what we've got is we've got the windings. Each winding is attached to one of these diodes, and then all 3 diodes are probably tied together to this part of the heatsink, which goes over to here, which is right where my finger is where the stud for the battery connection goes. So that's your output. So I should get a reading from each one of these to this part of the heatsink. I should be able to measure each one of these like it's a diode. Okay, so these little copper straps right here, they actually must make the connection to the diode, because from those copper straps I get a good connection, and then to here. So these are all measuring like a diode should measure. I've got my meter on my diode testing function, and if I check that connection right there, if I go in one direction, I get a reading of 0.491 or roughly that on each one, which that represents the voltage drop when the diode is forward biased. And then I reverse the terminal leads. So I reverse the polarity of my meter leads, and what I get now is I get no reading, which is normal for a regular diode. So that's actually some good news, something that finally tests the way it should test. And there's a part number on here also underneath all this gunk. This part number, I gotta clean it up with a rag. Looks like it's a 1D as in Delta, R as in Romeo, and there's a space, 627 space 4B15M. As far as I can tell, that's what it says. Wonder what this is. Well, let's see. Looks like those 3 nuts on this side are all going to be common to this backing plate, maybe? Not sure. Yeah, I'm getting several strange readings on this from these terminals, these different connections right here. When this is mounted in there and it's screwed down. Looks like all three of those connections end up grounding to the case. Yeah, I'm not gonna even bother messing with this until I know what it is.